We caught up with WIAA District Director to talk high school football state championships. We're talking hockey with the Wisconsin Whalers, and the Mad Rollin' Dolls gear up for their 12 seasons first bout. All that and much more. Keep watching. Your local sports news starts now. Thanks for joining us for the sports news. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, and here are your local headlines. The 2015 state championships took place recently at Camp Randall Stadium. On Thursday, Divisions 4 through 7 played. For a complete listing of those results, stay tuned as we interview WIAA Director after the break. For Friday's games, Divisions 1 through 3. Division 3, Notre Dame defeated Catholic Memorial 19-7. Homestead defeated Waukesha West 28-12 for Division 2. And Kimberly defeated Arrowhead in Division 1 for the final game of the championships, 49-42. In other football news, the 2015 All-Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference announces their Football Player of the Year and All-Conference awards recently. Coming out on top, we had University of Wisconsin Oshkosh's Brett Casper. He was named Offensive Player of the Year. Casper now is second in the league with 174.6 passing efficiency. He also added 448 passing yards against the Pioneers, third highest mark in program history. Defensive Player of the Year, UW-Platteville's Andrew Robinson was chosen. He leads the conference with 19 tackles for loss and 7.5 quarterback sacks. UW Stevens Point Jesse Vervelde, he was named Special Teams Player of the Year. He leads the WIAC with 12 field goals made while ranking third with 79 points total. Now, 3 Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference teams finished in the top 16 at NCAA Division III Women's Cross Country Championships on Saturday. University of Wisconsin Lacrosse was the top conference squad, placing 12th, while UW Oshkosh was 15th and UW Eau Claire at 16th. Badger football. Number 25 Wisconsin took a loss to number 20 Northwestern on Saturday evening at Camp Randall. The Wildcats led 10-0 at halftime after capitalizing on Badger quarterback Joel Stave's interception. By fourth quarter, with just 24 seconds remaining, the Badgers began celebrating their victory as sophomore Jazz Peavy thought he caught his first career touchdown. Celebrations soon turned to disbelief when officials reversed the call after a review. The game closed at 13-7 Northwestern. For additional information on these headlines, please reference the media sources you see listed on your screen. Also, like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching the Sports News, brought to you in part by the Red Zone Sports Bar in downtown Madison. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk to WIAA coach and director. We're talking football. Stick around. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, and earlier I caught up with WIAA District Director and former coach Wade Lebecki talking high school football. Make sure to catch the scores from the state football championships at the bottom of your screen. Here's that interview. Joining us now is WIAA Deputy Director Wade Lebecki. Wade, we're so glad to have you here. We're talking football season and playoff time, and we got lots to talk about. But first of all, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem, Jess. I appreciate you inviting me over.
Well, we're so glad to have you and glad to hear it straight from you. We want to talk football. Let's talk about what you think the biggest news is in high school football for the season so far.
We had an extremely exciting football year, and it really went off without a lot of hitches. We've implemented some new rules for safety, such as our acclimatization and our contact rules. In addition to that, our attendance has been up at all of our levels of our tournament games and during the regular season. And then in a bit of sad news, we lost Dick Rundle, who actually coached right down here at Monona Grove. He was a longtime coach, but he was largely responsible for getting us the football tournament 40 years ago. This is our 40th annual tournament, so we wish Dick's family well. But it's been a great season. We had our jamboree for our 8-player football 2 weeks ago, I believe, during level 3, and and we have some exciting championships this weekend.
Yeah, you sure do, and we'll keep folks posted on results for that. Now, not everyone's going to win a gold trophy, so after participating in football, what kind of benefits can players expect?
You know, it's such a unique sport. I think, you know, when you think about the bands on Friday night, the cheerleaders, the community supporting and all that, I think the benefits that a kid can get from participating in football is the camaraderie and the bond you build. You know, football is unique. You have 11 players who have to come together. They have to build that team. They have to struggle together. They have to overcome adversity together. And they have that bond that they build, even when you're sitting there and thinking about it, there are 11 people protecting each other, 11 people going ahead and trying to accomplish the same goal and to be successful on running a play.
Yeah, absolutely. And quickly, I want to touch on the topic of safety. What is your thoughts on how safe football is right now?
You know, football is the safest it's ever been. You know, we didn't invent football, but we do go around trying to make it as safe as possible. 115 years ago when football was invented, it doesn't even look similar to what it is today. We have better rules. We have rules at the national level with targeting, with spearing, defenseless player. We have rules at the state level with acclimatization and contact, where we limit the amount of contact kids can have during practice. We have better equipment, whether it's the helmets or the shoulder pads, and we have better education. I think that when you look at the education provided to coaches, to athletes, to parents, it's all around better for concussion. I really believe that it's a safer sport, and it's much safer than it ever has been.
And along those same lines, we have just a couple seconds left, but can you tell us some specific rules that have changed?
Sure. We've limited the amount of contact that players can have during a week, and we've also limited the practice time. Coaches can only practice with players for 2.5 hours during the day in pads. So, and we've seen a significant reduction in all types of injuries, whether it's sprained ankles, knees, or concussions.
Well, thank you so much. This is Wade Levesque, WIAA Deputy Director, and boy, we wish you the best of luck over the coming days. We'll keep folks posted on those results as they happen. Thank you, Wade.
Thank you, Jessa.
Thanks so much to Wade Levesque for your interview and your continued involvement with high school football. Now, another interview I caught earlier talking hockey with players from the Wisconsin Whalers. Here's your Whalers report.
Hello and welcome. Today we are joined by Ben and Ronnie with the Wisconsin Whalers. Guys, thanks for coming out today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So for those who don't know too much about the Wisconsin Whalers, can you tell them a little bit more about the team and where they play at?
Well, we're a junior hockey team, just a step below college and a step above youth hockey, and we play out of Oregon Ice Arena in Oregon, Wisconsin.
Great, great. And I understand that you've got a game coming up on the 25th. Is that correct? And what time?
Yes, we have a game against La Crosse at 6 p.m.
Okay, great. And I understand that you guys are not here from locally. Where are you guys coming from?
I'm not too far away, only a few hours, a little bit south of Chicago.
I'm from a small town in Sweden called Avesta.
Great. And we were talking a little bit earlier. I understand that you've got some specials as well, some family packs for people that want to come out and visit you.
Yeah, our family pack is 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, and 4 drinks for $35.
Excellent, excellent. So tell us a little bit more about yourselves. What positions do you play on the team, and what's been some of your favorite highlights so far this season?
I'm a goaltender. My best memory's got to be my first game against St. Louis, first win. That's something that I highlight pretty well.
Yeah, and then for me, I play center, offense, and first big game for me was 3 games in the season, 4 games in the season. Got in my first fight and scored my first goal.
That sounds like an action-packed game there, Ben. So folks, if you haven't had a chance to visit them, please go visit the Wisconsin Whalers. They're playing at the Oregon Ice Arena. And guys, how long does the season last until, the regular season?
In the middle of March.
Okay, great. And we're, of course, cheering for you to make it into those playoffs and show them how things are done here in Wisconsin. Guys, anything else that the folks at TV Land need to know about the team?
We just have some fun, and we hope we can bring fans in and give them some fun, some enjoyment. Good night.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for visiting us, and I hope everybody gets a chance to visit the Wisconsin Whalers soon.
Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah reporting on Monona Grove. I am joined by Silver Eagles Hogan Vezeret and Merrick Oseth, co-captains of the swim and dive team. Guys, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to dive right in, I guess pun intended. We got a lot to talk about today. Well, let's talk about last year. What led your teams to the success last year, in your opinion?
We just had a big senior group to lead us through it all, and we had a lot of young talent, which led to a state title.
And now, as defending state champions and co-captains, I mean, this is an exciting time for you. How are you going to hold that title despite the loss of so many crucial, lots of senior swimmers that are gone from last year?
Yeah, it is exciting. We have the majority of our state team from last year is joining us again. We still have a lot of the new talent as well as a couple new swimmers to join us along the way, so hopefully we have fun and work hard throughout it.
Yeah, well said. And let's talk a little bit about prep for the season. What are you doing to prepare so far?
We have morning practices and afternoon practices every day. We lift, we swim. It's a lot of work, but it all pays off in the end, and we also have Saturday practices.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's look ahead a little bit to some goals for your team. Talk to us about what some of your personal goals are.
Well, of course, the final goal is to hopefully bring home the state title again. We're the defending state champs, so hopefully we can make that happen again. But along the way, we talked yesterday with some of the swimmers, and we really want to make sure that we're trying hard throughout, remaining positive, and hopefully remaining undefeated throughout the season, and maybe come back with some more trophies along the way.
There you go, absolutely. And this is a mainly individual sport, so let's talk a little bit about how being on a swim team is different from conventional team sports where you're playing as a group.
The bond that you get with other swimmers is undescribable. Everything that you go through, whether it's morning practice, you really bond with the friends that you have on long car rides to practice or diving in the pool early in the morning. So that's what makes it more of a team sport, even though the events themselves are individual.
It's interesting because we're at the school longer than we are at our homes. It's about 13 hours to 11 hours every day. So we're pretty much with our swim team more than we are with our families. So our swim team becomes our family.
Absolutely, a family away from home. What do you think is your favorite part about swimming?
Definitely the bonds that we're making throughout the season. It's always fun to come after practice and we're all in the locker room having a good time, and we just forget about the hard practices and focus on the end goal.
Understandable. Well, guys, congrats on a successful season last year. A lot to live up to this year. I'm sure you'll make it happen. Silver Eagles, Hogan Vezeret and Merrick Oseth, co-captains. Thanks so much for joining us, and good luck to you.
Thanks for having us.
Joining us now to talk boxing is James McIntyre, promoter, coach, and fighter from Ford's Gym. We're so glad to see you today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. By the way, your hair looks amazing today.
Why, thank you. I appreciate that. See, you're welcome back anytime. Say, James, let's get into it here. It's been 4 months since the last boxing show in Madison. Are we going to see another one? What's going on?
We're definitely going to see another one. We've just been having trouble lately with matching up dates with the venues and with USA Boxing. So right now, I got a meeting with Alliant Energy Center this Monday coming, and I'm still trying to work with the Monona Terrace. So perhaps this year I'll have one at the Alliant and one at Monona Terrace. And we're definitely going to try to keep going with these shows.
Good for you. It's so impressive what you're doing to really grow this sport and get it out there for people. And now, boxing really hasn't been regarded as a big sport here in the Madison area, or really even Wisconsin, for a while. What do you see? How are you going to change this, and do you see a change?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to change it, but there are some big things happening. Actually, for the first time, and I don't remember exactly how many years, but we have 2 guys from Wisconsin going to the Olympic trials. We have one guy from Madison. His name is Chris Owsley, and we have another guy from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His name is Luis Feliciano, and I've actually been in the ring with Chris, and so I've witnessed him firsthand, and I've been doing some work with Feliciano. He'll be at our gym on Wednesday, and there's a big chance that both of these guys can make it to the Olympics. So if we have 2 guys from Wisconsin that make it to the Olympics, there definitely will be some eyes on Wisconsin coming in the future.
Oh, you bet. What a huge, great thing for the sport. And I think you are making a difference just by, coming and sharing your information and getting out there as a coach. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are you focused on most when you're coaching or training a fighter?
To me, the most important thing is actually the science itself, is the technique, the way that people are actually perform the things they're supposed to perform. So I pay just a lot of, I'm kind of a perfectionist, I guess, which some people don't like, but really when you're performing things the correct way, it makes everything so much easier. So it's just repetition, practice, and I just really stay on making sure we're doing things the right way.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really important, to get that repetition and get those folks, get that muscle memory out there. Now, what do you feel like in terms of when you're coaching and teaching? Is there anything that you can't teach?
Well, you know, it's always been said that you can't teach heart, you know, that you can't really teach anybody how to have what's inside of them, right. You know, you just can't bring that out. But I've been working with a lot of people lately, and I've seen that, you know, the more you work with somebody, you can kind of build a strong belief of that person, of their self, of the people around them. They believe in you, they believe in themselves more, they believe in their family, they believe in the fans. You know, when you can actually build a belief in someone, you kind of, in a way, maybe you can't teach heart, but you can cultivate their heart, because they now have more self-confidence, more courage with themselves. So where if they're in a bad situation, in a spot where they might have gave up, now they believe in themselves so much more that they won't. And I just believe maybe you can't teach heart, but it definitely can be cultivated, because as humans, I mean, what can't we learn?
Well, I appreciate your philosophy on that, James. Thank you so much for sharing, bringing boxing to the forefront. If you want to get in touch with James and get into boxing, contact Ford's Gym. This is your boxing report. When we return, we're talking volleyball. Your Verona Wildcats report is after the break. Stick around. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah. This is your Wildcat Report, and I'm joined now by Verona Girls Volleyball. With me is Jaden Wozniak, Emily Osiki, and Jordan Pertzborn, Verona Area Volleyball Girls. Finishing the season with a bang. You guys are doing great, and I'm so glad to have you so far today. How are you doing?
Good.
So let's kind of get right into it. The team has accomplished a lot in the postseason, taking down Madison, La Follette, Monona Grove, and Sun Prairie. Let's talk a little bit about the Sun Prairie match. Do you think that was a turning point for the team, and how did you prepare for that match?
Yeah, I think that it definitely was a turning point. After that match, we all kind of realized that we were going to state, and that was our full potential, and we got there. And we definitely had to work hard, but it was a big turning point for us. Preparing for that match, we watched a lot of film on Sun Prairie, and we focused on what their side of the net did and their big hitters' tendencies, and we went back to our practices and worked on shutting that down and playing our best game.
Well, congratulations to you ladies. Let's talk a little bit about the team's strategy in the week leading up to the state tournament. You know, what were you thinking there?
We really just came together as a team. We spent a lot of time together on and off the court. We had team breakfast and team dinners. We watched a lot of film together and just practiced really hard.
And now you beat first-ranked Burlington in the quarterfinal match after being down 2-0. And in the fifth set, you were down 0-6. Explain what the team needed to do in order to come back in that match, and then also for the fifth set.
I think we didn't really pay much attention to the scoreboard, and we focused on having fun and playing with confidence.
Well, good for you. That's a great strategy. And let's talk a little bit about some of the media sources out there comparing you to the movie Miracle about the USA hockey team winning the Olympics, kind of as the underdogs. Now, what are your thoughts on some of these comparisons, and what about the similarities? What do you think in terms of your team to this movie?
Yeah, going into the game against Burlington, we definitely were the underdogs, but we worked really hard and ended up coming out on top.
Well, congrats once again. And let's talk a little bit about the state semifinal match against Economowoc. Now, that was a hard fight that you didn't come out on top. What do you think your team did over the course of the season to get to this point?
We just played really hard the whole season. We focused on playing our game. And although this was a disappointing end, we got farther than any other team in the history of Verona volleyball, and that's really something to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats on your success throughout the season and postseason. Thanks to Jaden, Emily, and Jordan for your Verona Wildcat Report. Thanks, ladies. Joining us now is head boys basketball coach Steve Krupke, who joins us from Evansville basketball. Welcome, Steve. Thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk a little bit about a season preview here. Talk to us about some of the things that you really like about your team this year.
We have a nice core returning. They're a great group of kids. I consider myself really blessed because they work hard and they're high character kids. Have a nice core of returning players that started for me last year. And also I have a nice core of kids who come off the bench and play a role, and they're pushing the starters. So it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, nice mix of folks there. Let's talk a little bit more about the returning players. Who do you have returning this year?
Well, my starters last year predominantly were Brennan Banks, Kyle Rakowski, Hayden Reese, Brody Mogg, and Zach Milkey, and they're all back. They were underclassmen last year, got a lot of varsity experience in big games. And then some of the top returning guys that are going to play key roles for us would be Ben Veenstra, Tanner Meehan, Mark Trewicki, and Brett Sendelbach, who, you know, they play a big role. They get a lot of minutes even if they're not necessarily labeled as starters.
And let's talk a little bit about contributing players. Who has a chance to contribute?
Well, all the kids I mentioned can contribute, and then we have some seniors that are also going to vie for some playing time, and Kevin France and Jake Kennedy. And then I got some younger players who are really pushing that next group, and I saw a lot of improvement out of them. You know, some kids like Logan Wardwell, Logan Katzenmeyer, Sawyer Myers is a new player to our program, and Andy Forster. All had nice tryouts, and are kids that are going to be pushing our top tier players.
And at this point going into the season, what do you feel are your team's biggest strengths?
Team chemistry, I think they all get along pretty well. I watched them this past week, and what I like about it is there's not a lot of selfishness, a lot of distribution of the ball. You know, my best players aren't necessarily looking for their points. They're trying to find the open guy. So far, the team continuity has been pretty good.
Yeah, what an important component to going into a season. Let's talk a little bit about some questions that you need to have answered for your team. Talk to us about that.
Well, in the past, you know, the program's sort of been up and coming the last few years, and we've flown under the radar. And you know, I think every year we're picked to be toward the bottom of the conference, and we've snuck up on some people. This year, I think we're picked pretty high, and you know that doesn't mean anything in terms of wins and losses. There's some tough programs that are going to be solid no matter what, and they're going to be ready for us. It's not like we're going to sneak up on anybody.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to, you know, catching up with you as the season progresses. Glad to hear that you've got a solid team with a nice chemistry. Great job. Thanks so much, Steve Krupke, head coach for boys basketball in Evansville.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to thank the many guests who joined us today for providing your sports news reports, and a very special thank you to the Red Zone Sports Bar in downtown Madison for supporting local athletics. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. That's all for the sports news. I'm Jessa Jeremiah. Please join us next time.